Welcome to Tea, Toast, and Theology.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Paul asks us today, should we continue in sin in order that grace may abound? That's the question St. Paul asks us today. Should we continue in sin in order that grace may abound? A couple of weeks ago, on Friday, we had a worship night, and then we had our vestry meet together for retreat. And then on Saturday, we also extended all the other leaders to come together as well. On Friday night, in the prayer room, as the vestry members gathered, I asked Mary, I said, you have a part of your life, a big part of your life in the hospital. And hospital is a place that a lot of soap operas are also, the whole stories are around in the hospital, right? Does anyone here know why that is? Why do soap operas have hospitals sort of, the storyline goes around the hospital? Why is...
Life and death.
Right. Life and death.
It's the very edge of your seat, kind of.
Right. It is the edge of your seat, and also hospital is that one place in society which is not segregated by anything. Everyone goes to a hospital. You can segregate schools. You can have them by good neighborhood and bad neighborhood and what have you. But hospitals are the places where everyone, all kinds of life, you can see there happening right there. Right? So I asked, reflect on this and tell me, how are people thinking about faith, religion, church, and so on and so forth in that? Because that's where your experience is. Because you cannot have a better place to think about how are people thinking about anything than a hospital. And the other thing about a hospital is people are very real there because they are dealing with some really real issues. No doctor ever comes to you and says, well, I don't know. I think this is a great report, but we're going to go into surgery right now and take 6 of your organs out. But you're doing really well. Right? No doctor ever comes in and says that, right? How would a doctor proceed? They would say, okay, here are the test results. This is what your body is saying. These are the problems that your body is going through. That's the truth. And this is what we are going to do. Right? Now, they may be good at it or not good at it, whatever, but they are authentic about what is happening. There is no nice language that goes along. Right? You have to speak the truth. Because if you don't speak the truth as medical people, you cannot offer healing. There is no healing possible. If a doctor comes and tells you, everything is great, you can go home, and you are in fact dying, well, everything is not great, right? That's malpractice, right? So that is, hospitals are also places where truth is told. People are acting in an authentic, and then what you said, Julie, hospitals are places where a new life is about to come into the life. There is great joy, there is great anticipation, there is great hope coming, right? Because you're waiting for that grandchild, right? There is great hope, right? Or you are really expecting something awesome to happen, and the whole life to turn around after the surgery, right? So there is great anticipation there. There is great hope there, and there is also great, sometimes sadness there. You get the whole range there, right? So I asked Mary, your life is in the hospital. Tell us how people are thinking about faith, religion, church, that kind of a thing. And I think one of the first few words that came out of her mouth were that people think that church is hypocritical. And I said, thank you so much for saying that, because that is the truth. Because that is the truth. If we are honest, that is actually the truth. Right? And that is what Jesus is saying today, too. In fact, if you read the Gospels, Jesus uses that word over and over again. You hypocrites. John uses that word. Right? So what is it that makes a church community get that reputation? Well, there is a lot, and I'm not going to go there. But I think we are all familiar with why people raise that question. Because we say things, we pretend to be doing things, but we are not really. Right? On Friday night, at our worship night, we did Eucharist. And I shared with Janet, who is our altar guild person, and she had set the altar there. And I said to her, this is the first time ever in my many years of being in priesthood that I have had a crowd of people coming from all kinds of different backgrounds, just like the hospital, right? People coming from all kinds of backgrounds. And each and every one of them came to receive communion. I said, we have weddings and funerals. People from all over come to weddings and funerals. But when we have communion there, not everybody shows up to take communion. Right? And that night, Friday night, everyone came to receive communion. So what was the difference? Why is it that on that night, everyone came to receive communion? Why is it that when we do right here funerals, people don't show up to receive communion? I believe because of the way we did communion. So those of you who were there experienced it, right? Because we took communion and we took it completely outside this whole rite and ritual thing. Right? And we made the words of the communion come alive around the tables. We made those words come alive. Those words meant something. Each and every word. When we said, it is right and a good and joyful thing, it actually meant exactly that. It wasn't, when is this priest going to get through this prayer? Right? We actually meant it. We really, would you say that, Doug? Right? We meant it. We meant it. And you could see in the room of very diverse theological thing, maybe all over the spectrum. Every person could see that what we are saying right now means exactly what we are saying. It's authentic. because it's being done in the context that it should be in. And we prefaced it with that famous reading from Corinthians, that love passage, right? Where he talks about, I can have all these spiritual gifts, but if I don't have love, what am I? A noisy gong and a clanging cymbal. Now, Doug may like that clanging cymbal, but, right? But that's what I am if I don't have love. And I took it to the point where I said, look, when Jesus was giving his farewell speech to his disciples, telling them that he was about to leave, and, in my Father's house there are many rooms, and I'm going there, and all that. You know the farewell discourse from the Gospel of John. He did not say to them, listen, I'm leaving, but these are the 6 things that I really want you to believe in, okay? All my 4 people who are going to write these Gospels, all of you, take your pens out, write it down. 6 things, okay? And hereafter, every church should put that on their website. These are the 6 things I want you to believe. These are the 6 doctrines. Jesus, my friends, did not do that. What did he do instead? He sat at the table and said, do this in remembrance of me. Do this. Be authentic. Eat together. On that table, where, as I said at my Easter sermon, on that table, where it wasn't that Jesus gathered all his disciples on one side of the table and said, say cheese, so that Da Vinci could take the nice, right? That is not what happened. What happened was that table was a dynamic place where there were people with all kinds of different ideas, one of whom to the extent of wanting Jesus dead. And at that table, Jesus said, what? Do this in remembrance of me. Don't put 6 things on your website that you believe in, because guess what? You don't. Be real. Be authentic. Love is not something we can teach anyone. Love is something we have to live, and it has to be shown. Today, Jesus says, if the love for God and God's mission is not strong enough in you to the point where you are willing to leave everything for it, even your own father and mother and everything, then you're not ready to be called my followers. That, my friends, is a very, very difficult and a very high bar. No wonder people look at us and say, hypocrisy. The bar is very high. We need to recognize that. And yet, we also need to recognize the life story of Jesus. Jesus did not say, and I bring this to you, Jesus did not say, my friends, that let's just do something that gets us more people in. Jesus took a principled stand and did his ministry in that way. You know the result of when you take a principled stand? You don't win the popularity popularity contest. And neither did Jesus. You don't. And yet, that is what Jesus calls us to. And here's the amazing thing. We somehow are unable to fully appreciate. While people say that churches are hypocritical, I want to share with you something very interesting. You know how on Facebook you put a post, people can see it, right? And then you can boost, you can put $4, $5 toward that post, and you can define how far and wide you want it to be seen, right? And how many people estimated will see it, you are told by whatever algorithm it runs. And so I've been doing that for years now for the St. Paul's Facebook page. And then I decided to do an experiment. St. Paul's page now has 1,100 followers. So whenever a post goes up, 1,100 people immediately see that there is something happening there, right? So I set up a brand new page with 0 followers, right? It has been, I think, 2 or 3 weeks now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks maybe. Now we have 58 followers. But we started out with 0. And I boosted the worship night post. Between the 2 times that we have done that, for worship night, I think if I'm not, if I'm counting it right, I think we have at least 10 people who just saw the Facebook post and came here. For St. Paul's, years of doing it, Mary is right. You're right, Mary. The perception people have. And not only that she's right, then I sent the congregation, I think, maybe just the vestry, I don't remember which one, but I sent a survey done by Barna where it says 43% of Christians, not others, Christians think that the church is hypocritical. As soon as you take the word church out, you talk about worship night, people want to respond to that. It is extremely sad, but it is true, and it is true in our own experience. And people come from all over. West Haven, on this Friday, we had one person show up at 9 o'clock. We were all done with everything. And then he shows up. And then I ran over to Robin and I said, do you have any food? Because this guy just, right? Am I right? Right? So, I think he takes 10:30 because I got home at 10:30. Okay? And I got home at 10:30, but there were people still here. I think Al got home at after 11. Right? And I was like, people go home. And there were people who were still there talking to each other. I went home, but there were people here who were still here. And that night, on Friday night, we had about, I think, 40 or so people. I don't know if we counted the children or not, but there were 6 kids running around, and that was beautiful, right? But we had all these people, 40 people, which is more than what we have here today, and certainly more than what we had at the 8 o'clock, right? We had all these people here who all received communion, right? And in that group, when we started prayers, and after that, when we had all these conversations, when I got to move around and see these people I had never seen before, there were multiple people who came to me, wanted prayer, and this is how it went. I have completely messed up my life. There were tears. I call that confession. When someone can come up to you and say, I have completely messed up my life. I don't know what to do. I know what I've done wrong too. but I've messed up. I have lost my relationship, or I've lost this or that in my life. And I need help. And I believe that God can change my life. So pray for me. And we did. He did. And that is what churches are supposed to be. Places where we, like hospitals, can be authentic about what is wrong. That is called confession. Right? And then say, okay, but that's not how you have to live for the rest of your life. There is a healing in store and possible for you. Let's work on that. And we as a community will gather, just as Christ asked us to do in his remembrance. We will gather together and try to help you to get to that point of healing. And we believe, not through our own doing, but through the power of the one we believe in, you will be healed. And that was my prayer over and over again with everyone that I met who had this confession. Now, let me share this part with you too. And this is really one of my last points. I say my last point, everybody, oh, this is great. This is last point. All right, so one of my last points. A few weeks ago, we were having, at a party. We were having a fun time together, and this one guy who was raised Catholic, he said, "I went to a Catholic school, and as a boy, okay, and he said I had to go for confession, and said so he said when we used to go for a confession, there was this booth, and that booth." Right? If you knelt, when you went inside and you knelt on the kneeler, there was a light outside that went from green to red. Now, that's supposed to say it's occupied, so don't go there, right? So, but it got activated when someone knelt on it, right? So this little boy went in there, right? And he went. So the light outside is going green, red, green, red, green, red. You see, that is the issue with rites and rituals when they lose their meaning. Confession is a wonderful thing. But when we create all this formalization around the confession, it can become a great opportunity for some little boys to have fun. Right? But more than that, they can lose their meaning. Jesus calls us to be a community which is authentic, which lives into every word that he shared with us, not as those 6 things that can go on the Facebook page, but things that the community can actually live. I pray today that in our discussions today and going forward, we will opt to be a community that is not seeking a popularity contest, but Jesus was left all by himself, for he stood for what was right. We would do the right thing. You know why? Because when you offer people an opportunity to worship God authentically, to come and confess your sin, and to actually come and before God and say, I need help, and you offer these prayers, when you create that possibility, as we said last time, the harvest is plentiful. And I leave you with this last point. I have never come across a human being who says, in the next 5 years, I want to be really miserable. I'm really looking forward to a life where my whole body aches. I'm really looking forward to the life where I have no money left. I am really looking forward to having a life where I'm completely isolated. I just want to be miserable, and that is what I'm looking forward to in the next 5 years. I've never come across a human being that has ever said that. I always come across human beings who say, I want my life to be better. You know what that means? The harvest is plentiful. There is a great desire in the world for a better life, and God promises us a better life. May we choose to be a community that is authentic and is willing to put all things aside for the sake of offering that opportunity to those who seek. And we know they are many because they are the ones who are coming to our worship nights.
Thank you for listening to Tea, Toast, and Theology. We will be taking a 2-week break and return July 17th with the second half of Season 2. We will be filled with new sermons, new content, and more information. Please subscribe to our podcast or download them. You can find us at www.stpaulsct.org or on Instagram, stpauls_Shelton, or on Facebook, St. Paul's Episcopal Church on Huntington Green. If you would like prayers said at any time, please text 203-929-1250. You can get in touch with us by emailing stpauls@stpaulsct.org. Have a wonderful day.